Let us begin with a prayer. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvikhnam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. O omniscient Lord of the universe, we invoke Thee. We seek Your blessings. Make our efforts successful and beneficial to the whole world. You have incarnated in the world in the form of an elephant with a flexible trunk and tusk, a uni tusk. We seek Your blessings so that our efforts become successful and beneficial. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace be, peace be, peace be. Okay. So we continue to ask this question. We have not forgotten the question. What was the question? What should we do? What should I do? That was the question. And we need an answer for that. In the Dharma literature, the question is, what is my Swadharma? Swadharme nidhanam shreya. Even death is beneficial by doing our duty, Swadharma. So I want to know what is my Swadharma, what is my place in this world? What am I supposed to do? You all ask this question. And we need an answer to this question. That is why we spend 5 lectures on this. So first we saw that always measure your actions, your thoughts, in terms of these 3 universal principles. We have seen that. What were those 3 universal principles? Ahimsa, accommodation, inclusion. Dharana, sustainability. And prabhavam, flourish, progress. I have to measure my actions against these 3 eternal universal values. You may not measure up to the values, but at least if you can, as I told you, if you can aim for the star, you may at least be able to pluck the mangoes at least. That's enough. Make an effort. So that there is always something to aspire for, to lift yourself, to feel that the morning tomorrow I have something to do. I have miles to go before I sleep, as Frost, the poet, said. So that gives you, that makes your, when you wake up, you feel good. So that was first criteria. Are you doing your Swadharma? The second criteria was, are you acting, thinking according to your Prakriti? That is the second criteria. Because you cannot do everything. You cannot be everywhere. So am I acting, thinking, feeling according to my prakriti? And nobody can say what is your prakriti. You have to reflect. Engage in the world. It is by engaging in the world, by reflective engagement, that we are able to recognize our prakriti. And it is an open architecture. It grows, it unfolds as you interact with the world. Nobody can give you a tag, this is your prakriti. You yourself have to decide. And you will discover it as you engage. So we have seen 4 or 5 pursuits. Depending upon your prakriti, you can seek knowledge, you can seek power, you can seek money, wealth, you can seek pleasures, you can seek art, craft, sports. All these are there for you. You all can. You all can pursue those, isn't it? When you are a child, ask you, what do you want to be in life? I want to be like my mother or father. Then when you go to school, I want to be like my teacher. I want to be like my teacher. Then you want to be like a movie star. You have all the privilege. You can aspire for all this. But finally, through a process of competition and trial and error, you discover who you are. Oh, this is my prakriti. So you have to engage in the world through competition and cooperation or collaboration. Collaboration, I mean, in certain areas you may be weak. So you associate with another person so that you can pursue your goals together. So through that process, slowly you discover who you are. You are a work in progress, as somebody said. So your prakriti does not depend upon where you were born, which family you were born, or which caste you were born, or which race you were born, whether you are a Chinese or white or brown, it doesn't matter. Your prakriti is independent of all this. It's a very deep category. Trigunas, as we said. It doesn't matter which gender you were born. Of course, there was a time, gender made a lot of difference. You cannot do certain jobs. You have to be confined to your kitchen. You cannot go out because you are a woman. Not anymore. Now we are living in a wider world. Your challenges are wider. And you have the flexibility. You can train yourself. Because your gunas are so fundamental. So finally, over a period of time, we figure out what is my vocation, what is my calling, what is my guna. So earlier your guna was decided by which family you were born, which caste you were born, which country you were born, which race you were born. No more. Now we are living in a wider world. You have all the freedom to pursue everything. And if you are a successful artist, you make a lot of money also, isn't it? If you are a useless doctor, then nobody will come to you. So you can pursue all this together. Name, fame, knowledge, wealth, power. And through pursuing these goals, you are realizing your prakriti, your potential. So your prakriti is still unformed. Prakriti is not a fixed quantity. That is one mistake we made. In our ancient Dharma Shastras, we made this mistake. If you are born in a Brahmin family, you are a Brahmin. If you are born in a Kshatriya family, you are a Kshatriya. If you are born in a Shudra family, you are a Shudra. Not anymore. Now we have to mobilize. The whole community can be mobilized. So that's the kind of freedom that we enjoy when we look into our prakriti. Your prakriti is a clay. You can make anything out of that. Let us understand that. Because this I am making a departure from the classical definition of Prakriti. The classical definition of Prakriti was social division of labor and all that. It's a social category. Here I make it as a psychological category, a fundamental, ontological category. That makes you free to pursue all kind of. And finally, you will find out, oh, my affinity is towards money or wealth or fame or knowledge or whatever. So that sets you free. Otherwise, as Rousseau said, we are born free, but we find everywhere in fetters. No, you are born free and you are free, period. But your freedom is restrained by your Prakriti, please understand. As the bird's freedom to fly is restrained by the wingspan of the bird. So we are making a departure from the classical interpretation, and we have the freedom because this is the area of Maya, Mithya. Therefore, we have the freedom to reinterpret our ancestors. In their time, what they said was true and applicable, workable. But they are no more applicable, workable in the modern world. We have moved a lot, long distance. So that's how we choose to interpret the concept of Prakriti, your uniqueness in this world. And as a unique person, you have to collaborate with others. You have to compete with others, isn't it? In a cricket team, every player competes with the other player, at the same time collaborate. So we no more think in terms of enemy and foe and friend. Nobody is your foe or friend. Everybody is a prospective partner, a prospective competitor also. Is it not? Just think of your life. Everybody is a prospective, even your siblings, your parents, they also are a competitor sometimes. And they are collaborators. So through this process of collaboration and competition and interacting with the world, we discover our Prakriti. That's how we choose to interpret this concept of Prakriti. So you are a unique individual, and through reflection you have to realize, and through interactive reflection, that's how you discover your Prakriti. Like a seed discovers its fullness by interacting with the environment. Isn't it? I discover my muscles by lifting heavier and heavier weights. And some people may not have any muscle, so let them not try that method. But initially, I can try and find out. So that's a Prakriti. So you are a unique individual. And as a unique individual, you are the Karta Bhokta. We have seen that. Body, mind, ego complex. Karta means a doer. Bhokta means an enjoyer. Producer, consumer. These are your Prakriti. So as a Karta, I have certain capabilities unique to myself. As a Bhokta, I have certain needs. I'm not talking only about the speaker, I'm talking about you also. Whenever I say I, you have to, the reference is to you, not to me. So when I say I have certain capabilities, I have certain needs also. To express my capability and express my need or fulfill my need, I have to interact. That is why Krishna told Arjuna, never move away, don't move away from the battlefield. You have to be in the battlefield. No, these days we don't say battlefield, we say playground. Why not? It's a playground, not a battlefield. Now you can no more afford a battle under the nuclear threat. Any battle will become a nuclear war. So we cannot think in terms of war. We have to think in terms of collaboration and competition. So as a Karta Bhokta, you have to interact with the world. And the world is a system. There are many levels of systems in this world which you have to interact. So when I say Rajya Dharma, today I am supposed to talk about Rajya Dharma. Rajya means a collective system. That's the meaning of Rajya, a system, of which you are a part. As an individual, you are embedded in this system. What are the systems in which you are embedded? This is a enlarging circles, this system. The first system is your family. Isn't it? Mother, father, grandparents, grandchildren, in-laws, outlaws, all this put together, your family. And your family is the first system you encounter. And your family influence your personality, influence your prakriti. So there is an interaction between your prakriti and your family. And sometimes this interaction, this imprint which your family put on you will last till the end of your life. So we have to see that your family is a system in which you are embedded. Then you have the community. That is another system in which you are embedded. Because after 7 or 8 you move out and meet friends and people and schools and teachers and all that. Your community. And still larger system is your country. Because the country gives you the protection. The country with its army and police gives you a peaceful environment so that you can nurture your culture, your tradition. So your country is very important. You're an American, I am an Indian, or somebody is a Chinese. Your country gives you the protection. Otherwise it is a anarchy, lawlessness. You know, the Hobbesian lawlessness. Thomas Hobbes who said initially it was all anarchy. The Matsya Nyaya, as it is said in the Dharma Shastra. Matsya Nyaya means the big fish eats the small fish. Everybody is living in fear and insecurity. So there is a social contract. Citizens, people sat together and said, let us create a country. Then, still larger system is the world order. For the last 70 years, we have been experiencing peace, isn't it? Otherwise, First World War, Second World War, many wars here and there. So the world order is very, very important. For the countries to live in peace. The world order. And we are part of that as a citizen, as an individual. Also the environment. You know, clean water, clean air, mountains, trees, rivers. We have seen we are pumping so much plastic. We are dumping so much plastic into the oceans. We are pumping so much carbon dioxide into the environment. We are putting a lot of fertilizer and killing the soil. I don't have to say all these things to you. You know that. We are puncturing the ozone layers. And the glaciers are melting. The ocean water level is rising. So we are living in real danger that way. Dangerous situation. So therefore we are our quality of life depends upon all this. The family, the community. When I say community, it can mean faith-based community. Community, I mean locale-based community, where you are. You know that geography. For example, you are living in this apartment complex. It affects you. Or you are living in a village, it affects you. Or a desert, it affects you. Or cold climate, it affects your psyche, your prakriti, how your prakriti unfolds. So it can be faith-based community, locale-based community. Faith-based means if you are a Christian or a Hindu or a Muslim, your psychology changes, your prakriti changes. Or work-based community. Suppose you are a corporate, you are working in a corporation, multinational corporation. The way you dress, the way you speak, the way you think, everything changes, isn't it? Compared to when you are living in a village. No phone, nothing. No toilets, no flush. Your lifestyle changes, your prakriti changes. So we have to see all these connections. Your embeddedness. You are embedded in this different levels of organization. And this embeddedness makes you have certain duties towards maintaining these communities, maintaining these different levels of your system, different systems. You have a duty to maintain it. And the system has a duty to maintain you also. Because ultimately it is the individual. Isn't it? So when I look at my life and see this relationship, I feel a certain indebtedness. And the word used in Dharma Shastra, rana. I feel I am indebted. I feel gratitude. I feel certain respect for my parents. They brought me up. They gave me the initial education, culture. They gave me identity. They made me, they laid the foundation of my life. So you feel that indebtedness. Don't you feel that? If you don't feel you are an ungrateful person, you should feel some indebtedness, some respect for them. Instead of criticizing them all the while, my father, my mother, because of them I am like this. Don't do that. You always should have feel a certain runam. That's the word used. Runam. Runatrayam abhagrutya manomokshe niveshaya. There's a dharma statement. Runatrayam abhagrutya manomokshe niveshaya. You have to pay back. You have to pay back. In traditional communities, how do you pay back? You look after your parents when they are old. And we feel we earn a lot of punya as a result of that. When I look after my parents, some people do that. They resign from their job and come and look after their parents. I earn a lot of punya. I feel that. A lot of merit. And that can be understood in a larger canvas. Otherwise, you won't understand. If you are looking for the quarterly profit, then you don't understand that. My parents. I'm very, very important. I feel indebted to them. I feel I owe something to them. I must pay it back. Similarly, my community. My community also I owe something. My teachers, my elders, my neighbors. I owe something to them. That indebtedness. When you see your teacher in India, you touch their feet. These days you touch the feet so that you can pull their feet later, isn't it? Don't do that. So my community, my country, I am indebted to my country. I am indebted. If need be, I am ready to fight to defend the borders of my country, isn't it? When you become an American citizen in Indian, at the age of 80 become an American citizen, even then you have to give this undertaking. I am ready to defend my country. Isn't it? You are an 80-year-old Nepali, I have seen 80-year-old, I have become American citizen. And what is your undertaking? I am ready to defend my country. I am ready to become a fodder, at least. So your country, you have certain responsibility, certain duties. You are only paying back your debt. You are only paying back your debt. And if you pay back, the country will pay back to you also. This is a mutual flow of energy there. So that you create a sense of affluence. And of course, the entire system. So these systems, I will use the word Vest Samashti or Ishvara. There's a word called Ishvara. Ishvara, the entire environment is Ishvara's manifestation. The country is an Ishvara's manifestation. The community is an Ishvara's manifestation. Your family is an Ishvara's manifestation. Therefore it is said, Madru Devo Bhava. Your mother is visible God. Your father is visible God. Your guru is visible God. Acharya Devo Bhava. You don't have to look for the transcendental dimensions to see God. My God, God is everywhere around. You are like a fish in an ocean. Wherever the fish looks, it is only ocean. So feel like a fish in an ocean. You are embedded in this system. So the dharmic concept of Ishvara is not only some transcendental being sitting there. Ishvara's descended, come down, manifested as all this. So my mother, my father, my teacher, my elderly neighbors, my country, and the one who governs the system, all this I look upon with great reverence. Similarly, the environment. And it is my duty to do something for all this. So this concept of indebtedness, which is called runa. In the dharmic language, we call it runatrayam abhakrutya. One must be aware of that. So this culture is to be cultivated. You have to cultivate it. We lack that cultivation. And cultivate by certain teaching and rituals, and that's what we are doing now. That feeling of respect, that feeling of love. And we have to maintain this system. Some of these intermediary systems are collapsing. Families are collapsing. Community is collapsing. Religion is collapsing. Countries are collapsing. Environment is completely gone. How will you breathe? How will you live? How will you live a dignified life? How can you create flourish, prosperity, peace, happiness in such an environment? So we have to think about all this. So when I say I am a devotee, I am a bhakt. A devotee means all this. All these levels you must show your devotion. All these levels. So this is called an idea of indebtedness, because you are embedded in the system, and the survival of the system, the health of the system is very important for your health and your survival. That is what I call Rajya Dharma. And in this context, the idea of yajna become very, very important. The Dharma Shastra can see the whole life as a yajna, based on this indebtedness, concept of runa. What is the concept of yajna? Some of you must have witnessed the yajnas and homas and yagas. What do we do there? We invoke fire, sit around it, and then we offer materials into the fire, maybe twigs, pieces of wood, or cow dung cakes, or cooked rice balls, or clarified butter, or even sometimes sacrificial animals, flesh we offer, because that is what we eat. In very cold climate, you don't see anything else. So you may offer a piece of flesh, and later you eat it also. So we offer something into fire. Why are you offering it? To propitiate gods, who is in charge of the universe. And after propitiating and empowering gods, you are demanding something from God. Isn't it? Vittam cha me, dhanam cha me, dravidam cha me. Give me wealth, give me cows, give me health. All these things you are demanding. So this kind of interaction between gods and humans, you give something and then you receive something. You give the taxes to the government, and the government will build the hospitals, roads and whatnot, or defend the country or maintain law and order. But suppose you don't give taxes, nothing will happen. So you give and then demand. So this interaction, the two-way interaction, is called a yajna. The yajna spirit is give and receive. First you give, then you receive. That is the yajna spirit, which is very, very important because of your embeddedness in the system. You are not an isolated entity. You are part of the system. So this yajna spirit is to be cultivated. There are 5 important slokas in the Bhagavad Gita which discusses this yajna. Yajnarthan karmanonyatra. May all your actions be an offering to the system. Sahayajna praja sushtva. And we have that spirit in us. We have the spirit in us. It is there, inherent in us. Sahayajna praja sushtva. Puro vaja prajapati. Anena prasavishuddham. So by this mutual nourishing and cherishing, you create an atmosphere of prosperity. Bhagavad Gita says. And this must continue. I offer and I receive back and offer it again. I receive it back again. This way, by this, you create a ascending cycle of prosperity. Virtuous cycle, as they say. It is not that first I give you, then I receive, then I forget about it. No, then again, give you back. So this process is called yajna, this yajna spirit. And at all levels of this organization, it is valuable. Parents give you, you give something back to the parents. At least remember them on their birthday. Isn't it? And you send a card, call them, hi, bye. All those things. So he says, remember them. And similarly, your community, your teachers, remember their birthday, send a card. And some of us, we don't want to have anything to do with the teachers, isn't it? Because they were very tortured, they scolded you or this and that. And similarly, the government, annually you have to file your returns, isn't it? Don't forget it. Annually you have to file the income tax return. You cannot forget that. Or follow the traffic rules. You cannot forget that. So, similarly the environment. How much plastic we are dumping into the system? How much carbon dioxide we are pumping into the system? We have to, every action, we have to be very, very careful. Because we have to be responsible. We can destroy the whole system by our action, individual and collective action. So you're responsible for this. Unlike an animal or a child, we are responsible. So that responsibility, that's called the rina, the feeling of indebtedness, feeling of responsibility is very, very important for us. So one is rina, the concept of rina, concept of debt. I am in debt. Don't say that I have received nothing. You have received everything. That is why you are sitting here. Otherwise, you would have died long back. You have received a lot of things. It's time for you to remember, recollect, remember and pay back. Don't we say that it's time for me to pay back to my community, to my family, to my country. If you have not done it, it's time for you to do it. So, the concept of rina and the concept of yajna. Yajna means give and then receive. Don't forget to receive. Because if you forget to receive, then you become a martyr, a sucker. I keep on giving and I don't receive anything. If you don't receive anything, then you are killing the golden goose. So you have to give and receive. When I give something, have I received something in return? You have to assess that. If you are not receiving something in return, that's a bad investment. That's a bad investment. That doesn't create prosperity. That doesn't create a feeling of goodness in you. So whenever you give, you must get something in return. Or something has to come back. If you plant a seed, you must get a fruit. If not you, your next generation must get something. Otherwise, it's a bad investment. So see the flow of energy, give and receive, give and receive. That way you can create a situation of continuing prosperity. Parasparam bhavayanda shreyah paramavapsyada, Bhagavan said. So the concept of yajna become very, very important. Please look into that, reflect on that. The concept of yajna. Sometimes we say, I keep on giving, but I don't want anything. Which is not a good psychology. That way of making the other person disabled. Isn't it? When you give something, you must get something in return. That is why it is said, don't give him a fish, but teach him how to fish. so that he can come back. He will feel grateful to you because you have made him stand on her legs. So this principle is very, very important. Otherwise it is not sustainable. Give and receive. Receive and again give back. Again receive back. That is the concept of yajna. And there are 5 Mahayajnas which I shall discuss later. Now we are talking about your relation with the systems in which you are embedded. So please keep in mind the yajna concept, the idea of yajna. And the third is the idea of danda. Danda means rule of law. Danda. The king holds the scepter of power. Danda. Because any organization is structured in hierarchical terms. There should be a decision maker. There should be a few people who discuss. There are few people who are connected with other people. You take a corporate structure, the structure of a country, or a structure of a church. The Pope isn't a final decision maker. The President, the final decision maker. The CEO, the final decision maker. Or in a democracy, people together send their representatives. All this, I'm not going into all those things, I'm just making you look into these aspects. So any organization has got a structure, a decision-making process. So because of structure and decision-making process, and there are certain rules which governs the organization. Otherwise, organization cannot survive, country cannot survive, corporates cannot survive, even family cannot survive. Don't you say that? Family, there are some rules. Don't treat my house as a hotel. Sometimes the mother will say, this is not a hotel. This is a house. You have to come in time. You have to leave in time. When you come, you have to report to me. You cannot sneak into the house and get into your bedroom. So there are rules. No organization can survive without rules. Of course, how you derive those rules, you can say God gave me those rules, or let us sit together and discuss. I have seen some families, children, grandchildren, everything sit together and then discuss what to cook today, who will cook today, who will wash the dishes. And some houses it is dictatorial, autocratic house. The father decides, the mother decides, or the guru decides. So how you take decision depend upon your culture, your tradition. China is an autocratic country, but it's a very flourishing country. America is a democratic country, that also is flourishing. So that's up to you to decide. I will give you some general principles. So there will always be a hierarchy. Finally, either you say the majority decides, or you say the guru decides, or the head of the family decides. Because sometimes majority may come into a tie. The majority may oppress the minority. So minority should have a voice. You have to take all stakeholders. I'm just provoking you to think on these lines. Not that I'm giving you final solutions. There's no final solution. Solutions have to emerge by discussion, deliberation, collaboration, competition. So the concept of danda, rule of law or rule of dharma. They say the rule of dharma. Even a king is under the rule of dharma. Trump has learned it in a very, very difficult way, isn't it? Trump thought he can continue as the president, then he knows that America has got a system. You cannot trample upon the system. The system will survive. If the system collapses, then there is no power, no decision making possible. So one has to use danda. Danda means the rule of law. In rule of law, those who obey the law, those who obey the dharma, they will be rewarded. Those who defy the law, they will be punished. That is the rule of law. That happens in the family, in the community, in a church. If you don't follow the rules, you will be excommunicated, isn't it? If you don't follow the rules of the house, the door will be closed to you. You will be disowned. If you don't follow the rule of the country, you will be punished, put in jail. If you don't follow the rule of the environment, what happens? What is happening today? The rules are to be followed. So, danda is a very important concept. So, what are the three important concepts? First is runa. We have a feeling of indebtedness. Second is the concept of yajna. You give and receive. Give and receive. Third is the rule of law, danda. Then, very interestingly, the Dharma Shastra also discusses about the rules of negotiation. Because life is a series of negotiations. Navigating through this complex system, we need some rules of negotiation. Every day it is a negotiation, isn't it? Husband and wife, what are you doing every day? Negotiating. How to make life peaceful, workable. Children and parents, they are negotiation. Mama, can I get $50? Yes, I can give you $50 provided you bring good progress report, isn't it? It's a negotiation. If you get good grades, I'll give you a motorbike, isn't it? Negotiation. Because children are as intelligent as you are. Don't think they are stupid. Oh, they are only 7-year-old, 3-year-old. No, even a 3-year-old child is watching. Watching you. What are you doing in the bedroom, in the kitchen, in the drawing room? They are watching. They may not unconsciously they are watching. Everything will manifest later. So life is full of negotiation. Why negotiation? Negotiation because when you watch, you are watched also. It's a dialogical process. It's a dialogical process. So you have to negotiate. As they say, you get what you negotiate, isn't it? The crying baby alone gets milk. If you don't cry, you don't have any milk. Unless you announce who you are, unless you say what you want, you don't get it. You may say, oh, you didn't get it, but I don't get it. Unless you say it. So life is full of negotiation, whether it is man-woman relationship, parent-children relationship, teacher-taught relationship, government-citizen relationship. Because the government is not providing comfort to the citizen. Citizens can revolt against the government. Isn't it? So as Manusmriti says, the purpose of government is to provide comfort to the citizens. If you don't do that, the government will be, there's no legitimacy or authority to the government. So this concept, how do we negotiate in life? There are 4 principles, it's called ubayas. 4 principles are set. You must be familiar, some of you must be familiar with this. It says sama, dana, veda, danda. In all negotiations, you employ these 4 strategies. Whether it is in a family or community or a church or government or wherever you are in a corporate space, in all these spaces, you can employ these 4 strategies to maximize your progress or your comforts. What are the 4 strategies? Sama, dana, veda, danda. What is Sama? Sama is collaboration, creating win-win situation. Don't try to undermine the other person. When you are living together, you have to create win-win situation. Take all stakeholders into the discussion. Make sure that everybody is comfortable. Everybody gets their due. This is called Sama. Like in Mahabharata war, before the war starts, Krishna goes to negotiate with the with the Kauravas. And Krishna's advice was, let us not fight. Let us be together. You are 100, we are 505, we can conquer the whole world. I think America and China should have this understanding. Sama, sit together, discuss. India and Pakistan, sit together and discuss. Islamic and Christian and Hindu, sit together, discuss. How can we make the world a better place? This is very, very important. It's time for us. Otherwise, we are living under a nuclear umbrella. To discuss. See commonalities. Create win-win situation. Take all stakeholders. That is the first method if you can. If that doesn't work, what do? You dhanam. Dana means let the other person live the way he lives. You live your life. Create space. Dana means giving, buying or purchasing time and space. Dana. Sometimes children cry and you say philosophy and rules and regulations still there. Then you give them a trophy, isn't it? Eat this. Sit down. But don't give all the time. In extreme cases, you can purchase peace. Which countries are doing, families are doing, communities are doing. I give you something, I put a lily pop onto your mouth and keep quiet. Which is called dhanam. Or create space between you so that you don't come into each other's jugulars. Or you keep quiet for some time. This is called dhanam. There is a strategy in negotiating between people, between interest groups. The third strategy is called sama, dana, bheda. Bheda means trying to get into your competitor's area and try to negotiate with a few among them, which America and China is doing now. Because they get into the other party and try to snatch some of them. This is called bheda. Create division in the opposition, so that they are weakened. So you can negotiate from a point of position of strength. Don't you do that sometime? You do it. You do that sometime. You look at the competitor and try to see if there is any space, any conflict between them, and then you try to intrude there. That is called bheda, creating dissension in the enemy camp. This looks a little devious, isn't it? This looks a little devious, but there is no other way. There is no other way. It happens everywhere. So sama, dana, bheda. Then finally, if nothing works, go on to his jugular, he says. Danda, punishment. Danda, punishment. Throw him out. You have nothing to do with that person. So in your own way, you can apply. I am just interpreting my own way. You can apply this principle in your own way. Sama, dana, bheda, danda. Whether you are in a family or a community or a corporate world, isn't it? That's what you are doing. In the corporate world, this strategy, these 4 strategies are very important. Corporate world, within your group, within the corporation and the out in the world, you employ these 4 strategies. So once you know these strategies, you can enjoy peace of mind. Otherwise, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You completely get confused. So if you have a strategic mind, you can live in peace all the time because you have a solution. The brain gets confused when it has no solution, when it feels I am hemmed in, I have nowhere to go. So always think of an alternate strategy. A wise general always leaves a line of retreat, as they say. You must always have a line of retreat. If this happens, what can I do? If that happens, what can I do? So these 4 strategies, as you negotiate in this world, because you get what you negotiate, as you navigate in this complex world, these 4 strategies will help you Sama, Dana, Bheda, Danda. Sama means reconciliation, taking everybody. Bheda, Sama, then Dana, Bheda, Danda. If you look at the world, for example, I was thinking of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi has a principle of ahimsa. He was a leader who followed the law, principle of ahimsa. And if you come to a dead end, if he comes to a dead end, then he fasts. He misses a meal, isn't it? Fasting. So most of the problem is solved that way. But his ambition was Hindu-Muslim unity and India-Pakistan unity, undivided India. Hindu-Muslim unity. But he couldn't achieve that. I was wondering why he didn't fast. He should have fasted. He didn't do that. Because that doesn't work there. So you need this flexible strategy. I'll be talking about more in the Abad Dharma when I discuss Abad Dharma. So 4 strategies. What are the 4 strategies? Sama, Dana, Bheda, Danda. In negotiating and creating maximum benefit for yourself, your company, your country, and humanity at large. These are the 4 strategies one can apply. So I started with the concept of Runa, indebtedness, the concept of Yajna, give and receive, and the concept of Danda, rule of law. Nobody can go above it. Nobody is above that law. One should know what it is. And finally, I am coming to 5 yajnas. What are those 5 yajnas recommended in the Dharma Shastra? That's what we are going to discuss now. The 5 yajnas. They are, first is called Rishi Yajna. Rishi Yajna. The second is Deva Yajna. I'll be explaining all that. Don't worry about that. Rishi Yajna, Deva Yajna. As an individual embedded in this complex system, you are supposed to do these yajnas, follow these rules of yajna. First is Rishi Yajna. Second is Deva Yajna. 4th is Pidri Yajna. Pidri Yajna. 5th is Nri Yajna. Nri Yajna. So, Rishi Yajna, Deva Yajna, you can write it down, Pidri Yajna, Nri Yajna, and Bhuda Yajna. Let me try to give you the classical interpretation, explanation, and the modern explanation for this yajna. Your whole life is to be a yajna. What is yajna? Give and receive, give and receive. So in 5 areas, you have to follow this yajna principle. The first area is called Rishi Yajna. Rishi means those who have given us the classical text. For example, if you are a Christian, you have the Bible. I'm a Hindu, I have the Bhagavad Gita. And the Muslim, they have the Quran. And the Chinese, they have the Confucian text. These texts form our fundamental ideas about life. So, Rishi Yajna means reading those texts, if not every day, but periodically. You need some textual understanding about things. Because those texts contain the wisdom of your culture and tradition. We should know what are those. Now we are global individuals, global citizens. Being a global citizen, I would prefer you to read all these texts. All these texts. Not just Bhagavad Gita, just Quran, just Bible, just the Chinese Confucian. Read all the texts. So that your vision expands. You are not confined to one particular tradition. And your brain has the capacity to synthesize all this. Because these days we are using only 10% of the brain capacity. Now you have the facility of supercomputers also. Use their facility also. So expose yourself to all kind of traditions so that you can synthesize and create your own unique faith system. Being a global citizen, you will have to do that. You cannot be antagonistic to one religion or one country and all that. So, Rishi Rina means, Rishi Yajna means reading the fundamental text, which is the foundation of our culture and belief system. Then the next is, so this is called Swadhyayam. Rishi Yajna means Swadhyayam, study of the scriptures. So they also can mean every day you try to review your life. That also can be called Swadhyayam. You are reviewing. What did I do? What I plan to do? What should I do? Etc. Swadhyayam. Very important. Second is called Deva Yajna. Deva means the shining entities, your ideals. The ideals for which you are living. Freedom, equality, justice, love, compassion, common good. These ideals which does not require any debate. So you have to every day do the yajna means you have to commit, remember and commit yourself to these ideals. In the classical interpretation, Deva Yajna means performing Agnihotra, fire ritual every day. That's the classical explanation. You have to do some ritual every day. Worship fire or worship the sun or worship your own breath. Every day you have to do. Sit. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha. Or Agneya Subhadaraya Yasman. Or lead me on the right path. Or fire, lead me on the right path. Or sun, energize my mind. Or the prana, give me the depth. Do pranayama. But the modern interpretation is you do all this, but at the same time, remember the ideals, the great ideas. Commit yourself to that so that you can look forward to a bright future. So this is called Deva Yajna. And then the third is Pitru Yajna. Pitru Yajna, the classical interpretation, Shraddha. Every month you have to do Shraddha for your parents. You have forgotten them, but they have not, I tell you. You have forgotten your parents in your busy life. But have they forgotten? They are not. Their blessing is necessary for you. So your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, their parents, meaning your entire tradition, culture, we have to remember. So when we do Shraddha, Shraddha means remembering your parents, grandparents. Not only you are seeking their blessing, you are remembering your entire tradition, resuscitating your entire tradition. You feel well rooted in the process. Well rooted. Otherwise you are floating in the surface. No roots. Ruthless. Isn't it? Ruthless and jobless also. Because you are not happy with what you are doing. You have no roots. Then you become ruthless. Because you have nothing to live for. So therefore, Pitru Yajna is very, very important. Remembering your parents, remembering your tradition, your culture. Of course, you can make changes in your tradition, but it's better to remember it. You remember your past so that you can create a future. As somebody said, those who forget their past have no future. You can put it the other way also. Those who don't create a future, nobody will remember their past also. So Pitru Yajna is a very, very important concept. Then the fourth is Nriyajna. What is Nriyajna? Nriyajna means serving the poor people. Poor, old, sick. Nra means human being. Serving humanity. Especially poor, sick and old. That's called Nriyajna. If you don't do that, then they are going to come against you. The power of the powerless, as they say. You know, lot of ants can kill an elephant, isn't it? Lot of ants, lot of bees coming together can kill an elephant. So the Dharma Shastra says the power of the powerless is very devastating, you see. A drop, the crying of the poor, the sufferings of the poor will become huge conflagration and burn the whole edifice down. Dharma Shastra wants you. So we should always remember there are people who are suffering on the road, sick. Do you think about them? That is called Nriyajna. We have to do something. Set apart some of your income for them. And make sure that reaches the intended person. You know, that also is very important. The power of the powerless. The teardrops of the powerless can burn down everything. Manusmriti says this. It's a warning to the powers that be. You should always remember the powerless, because they are the foundation of it. If they cry, you cannot rest in peace. You cannot have a good sleep. So Nriyajna is very important thing. And finally, Bodhayajna. Bodha means the objects of the world, like rivers, mountains, air. Isn't it? So Bodhayajna, make sure your air is clean, the air you breathe is clean, mountains are full of forest, water is clean, rivers are clean. Don't dump plastic into the ocean. Don't pump carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Don't puncture the ozone layers. The glaciers may melt and the oceanic water level may go up. Then your life will be in danger. So therefore, Bodhayajna. And also the biodiversity. The diversity. Animals, trees. Every year we are, 120 species are becoming extinct in the world. Every year so much plastic is dumped into the ocean. We have to be very careful. You and I. Don't say my neighbor will do it. I can keep on dumping plastic. No. The change that you want to see in the world, be that change. So it's an enormous responsibility, isn't it? These 5 yajnas. Their ancient interpretation and the modern interpretation. So I repeat the names of these yajnas: Rishi Yajna, Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Nriyajna, and Bodhayajna. So these 5 yajnas is to be performed. Performed means your action should contribute to this yajna. Your action should follow the principle of these yajnas. This is called Rajya Dharma. Rajya Dharma means values for collective living. The other one was the Prakriti, your personal Prakriti. Now you are part of this world. To discover your Prakriti, to realize your full potential, you have to interact with the world. And if you interact with the world, make sure the system remains healthy. Otherwise, you are killing the golden goose for short-term goals. We will come to regret it later. Develop that emotional intelligence to see the outcome of your present action. That's called emotional intelligence. I can see through what will happen. So that's the Rajya Dharma. So three things: eternal values, your Prakriti, your Rajya Dharma. As you try to unfold your Prakriti, try to express your talents and fulfill your needs, what are you doing to the system? To your children, to your grandchildren. Are you depriving them of their right to live a healthy and happy life? Or are you saying to hell with them? Rinam krutva ghridam pibe. Doesn't matter, I beg, borrow and enjoy and destroy the whole world. Who cares for the future? But Hindu Shastra say you will come back, isn't it? You come back to the world as your grandchildren. You'll come back. You'll come back as a hand and the mouse, and then you'll come back and you'll suffer. So have that insight, long sight or far sight, whatever you may say, and moderate your actions today. With this understanding, you have the capability to do that. So now fourth aspect of dharma, so dharma, what should I do, is called abhadharma. Abhadharma means you have a fundamental duty to protect yourself. In dangerous situation, your first concern should be your own protection. Because unless you live, you cannot preach dharma or practice dharma or anything. So there is a fundamental duty for you to protect yourself. Abhadharma. What are those situations where you have to forget everything and take care of yourself? What are those situations? There are some situations like that. Then you can come back and clean up the mess. That's a different. You can come back and clean up the mess. But in that abad, the emergency situation, you may create some mess. But your fundamental duty is to take care of yourself, isn't it? When you in the flight, you say first to put the oxygen mask on you, then on your child. When the house is on fire, first you get out, then come back and save others. So you have a duty to protect yourself, to take care of yourself. And how does it come into conflict with all these ideals? When does it come into conflict? Because this is a big conflict in our life. What should I do in such situation where my life itself is under threat? So there should be a way of dealing with this. This should be my next talk, next Saturday, which is called Abhadharma. When all these four things put together, four ideas put together, which is called the algorithm of Sadharma, then you find out, oh, this is what I am supposed to do at a given situation. Every given situation may demand different responses from me. So that's what will be the next step. Thank you very much for you.